Mindflow Radio.
Mindflow Radio.
Here we are.
Here we are. It's that time of month.
Indeed. 2021. Just want to say that.
And
right
that time
away.
of year.
Actually,
Celebrate
we're
new
recording
beginnings.
this on January 1st.
Yeah.
2021.
There was a boy, a very strange enchanted boy. They say he wandered very far over land and sea. A little shy and sad of eye, but very wise was he. And then one day, a magic day, he passed my way. And while we spoke of many things, fools and kings, this he said to me. The greatest thing you'll ever learn is just to love and be loved in return. Aham prema, aham prema, aham prema, aham prema, aham prema, aham prema, aham prema. Aham prema, 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 aham prema. The undeniable self is divine love. The greatest thing you'll ever learn is just to love and
Welcome to a new era.
Indeed.
Of sorts, a new chapter.
He's Monte.
She's Jai Lynn.
And we have Erin with us.
Thank you, Erin, for being here.
Yeah. We've got our monthly Tao Te Ching discussion going on.
And discussion about our world in general. And
how it ties in.
And our state of consciousness and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, it's always interesting how we pull it into today's context.
That's just the way we are.
Right? Yeah. So I can start with reading the verse.
Yeah.
Sound good? So verse number 6 is the valley spirit never dies. The valley spirit never dies. It is called the mysterious female. The opening of the mysterious female is called the root of heaven and earth. Continuous, seeming to remain. Use it with exertion. Use it without exertion. Without.
Yeah.
That's a pretty key word there.
Yeah.
Right. So let's talk about the great mother.
Yeah. So when I was thinking about this, I thought about the feminine and the mother is creation. And so if we cycle through life and death, every death is a new creation. And the mother is the divine continuous creation. And the mother is the universe.
The womb.
Well, and the way to hook into the great mother or the Tao is through not striving, right? Non-exertion.
To just be.
Yeah.
Which is very hard to do, especially in this world.
It makes me feel like achieving the state of the neutral mind, which is something I've been working on. You know, the place where we're not thinking too much.
Yeah.
We're in a place of discernment rather than judgment as well.
And with just being comes creation, right? So once you get to the neutral mind, you're able to be a creator. You're able to create.
Right.
It probably really boosts our manifesting abilities.
Right. Without ego. It's all just divine creation.
Yeah.
I think there's something about the joy, though. I recently pulled a card. I like the daily angel deck. And I pulled joy.
Nice.
And it was talking about joy being the highest vibration that you can have. And when you can embody that joy, then you can manifest from that place.
Yeah.
So I get the neutral mind. I totally understand it. But I also think that if you really want to create, how do you be in joy?
I think you have to have the neutral mind to have joy.
Yeah.
Right.
To get
you have
there.
to be neutral.
Because then you're balanced. Your
Yeah.
mind is balanced. If your mind's out of balance, it's really hard to find that joy.
Because you're wanting the
Right.
past and the future instead of the present.
Yeah, or
Right.
just analyzing the heck out of everything. Yeah, and trying to figure out everything and getting caught up in that information overload, which so many of us, that's our
Well, what just went through my head is that the joy that we seek can be forced, or you can exert yourself into joy, which is the spiritual bypassing that is around, sometimes mislabeled or misjudged, but it is around.
Is that joy? Or is it happiness? Or
I don't know.
maybe there's different levels of joy, and there's like a superficial level of. I mean, it's more than just spiritual bypassing. We get there through substances. Let's face it.
Sure.
Or just through like watching movies or whatever. I mean, there's lots of ways.
For ourselves.
Yeah, to touch on that place of like feeling good momentarily. But then for it to last, though, for it to be sustainable, and I'd like to mention that, I mean, I think no matter what state our mind is in, we are all powerful manifestors, but it just depends on what we manifest. If my mind is in a place of chaos and judgment and fear, then what am I going to manifest in my life?
Chaos.
But if perhaps, yeah. But if my mind is in a place of balance and compassion and respect and, just tribal kind of connection with other humans, and then what am I going to manifest? I mean, so either way, we're manifesting machines.
Mm-hmm.
But if we can get in touch with the Great Mother through, having more balance in our minds and having more neutrality and more clarity, I think then at that point we manifest a better situation for ourselves in our culture, in our world. And 2021, maybe this is the year when we really need to focus on getting to that place of not striving, of neutrality, of just joy. It leads to joy and peace and clarity.
Well, I think what's so interesting about it is that's my New Year's resolution. Different words, but non-striving. That's what I really want to embody, is to stop trying so hard.
Yeah. I think I did that last year.
I know. Most people do.
Well, yeah, I mean, maybe. I think, I've thought a lot about joy over the last year and like this internal sense of joy, a state of being. And I think the only way that one of the only ways I got through all of my trauma was because I had this internal sense of joy and it didn't leave me, it wasn't external from me. Yeah. And it just gave me so much power, right? Just that state of being. And then I feel like I was still able to create positive things in my life despite all the negative things that happened. Yeah. Well, not even negative. Perfect. They weren't even negative as I see it now. They just were. Right?
Yeah.
They were big and at times painful.
Yeah.
But joy brought me through. Well, in love.
And joy and love. And how do you separate those?
Right. And then I think about like the Divine Mother, the feminine, is being able to take those hard things and still be a creator, still regenerate with joy and love. And that's where the neutrality and if you're in the manifesting, I mean, for years I manifested just trauma, but I didn't have that joy, but I had that joy this year. And then now I feel like I'm manifesting good things. Yeah. Good things are happening.
That's awesome.
That is great.
And then now we've got this 2021 here. And how do we support each other? Like you were saying, the tribe, and that's been a big one for me. And how do we be more collective and collaborative? And like right now, we have two of our really good friends here. We got Jeremy, who's helping with the filming.
Thank you, Jeremy.
And Erin, who's talking with us about all of our favorite subjects. And it's like, this is how we move forward, And
right.
I really feel that sense of belonging with a tribe is part of moving forward. And I'm not even sure how to portray that out into the world other than hope that everyone finds their people and that they can together grow in that neutral mind space, or that non-striving, like we're coming together on this vibration and we can grow together. We can support each other's growth.
Yeah. And if you're listening to this, you're joining with us.
Yeah,
exactly. In the tribe. And I mean, part of this experience too is if people are not in our tribe, that's okay too.
Yeah.
We're not pointing at them or judging them or condemning them, essentially.
Or if you're part of a tribe and you notice that your tribe kind of focuses on things that aren't serving you anymore, the more negative judgment thoughts, and you're aware that that's not what you really want to be a part of, I would consider asking your tribe to change the way you look at the world and to focus on joy instead of the negative and
or solutions.
Solutions,
Yeah,
right?
solution focused.
Right. Yeah. Because that's what the tribes do. They're not any different than what we talk about or do. It's just they focus on the problem instead of the solutions.
And get their emotions all hyped up about the problem, which only feeds the problem.
Yeah, and I want to say, if a solution involves hatred and anger, and that's just old school. Yeah. That's old school humanity going to war. Yeah. Right? There's one tribe pointing at another tribe saying, "We got to get rid of you guys, and then we'll be happy."
Yeah,
and that's what we need to transcend.
It's the power.
We got to collaborate with people now.
Yeah,
everybody.
I'm reading a book that is about women. If women told the story of history, the story would change, and how the story that we all know is of warriors and is of powerful men and violence. Yeah. But the women of that time, that's not what they were doing. They were creating, they were the turnover, the love, the nurturing, and the creation of new human beings and of food
and sustaining
and
them
homes and sustaining the men. And sometimes the men had to be of power, but other times they probably didn't.
Well, it's the men perhaps at times had to defend their community or their home, but the men certainly didn't have to attack other communities
and take over others.
Well, I guess.
But really, that was the zeitgeist, and that still is the zeitgeist.
What's the zeitgeist?
The zeitgeist means the energetic, philosophical energy of the moment in our culture. Yeah. And you see, it's like if the zeitgeist is a warring zeitgeist, it's like the kind of the collective vibe. Totally. And that's what we need to shift out of. And it's very doable, and perhaps it's predestined that we shift out of it. It seems to make sense. We're not meant to be at war with each other and with ourselves, for that matter, you know, forever. We're meant to evolve past it. And now's the time that we start working on that and collectively working on that. And I see it happening.
And the universe supports it because it's time.
Because it's time, right? I mean, we didn't wake up and say, I'm going to change today.
Right.
It just started to evolve and happen. Well, and I think that probably happens for everyone.
I do feel like changing the zeitgeist too will be more and more peaceful women will be the leaders, essentially. I mean, when we look back at different warring zeitgeists, and even now, like a lot of, you know, our culture is involved with this warring mentality, and a lot of those people are women too. I just want to say,
Joan of Arc.
Well, just like being judgmental and hatred, and I mean, I remember looking at videos from like 1939 Germany. And there are a lot of women in the audiences really like cheering on the whole Nazi movement as well.
Well, we've seen it here in 2020. I mean, we've seen men and women be very angry
each other
and really cruel. Hate each other.
And be judgmental and get really involved.
It isn't just men, for sure. But it's the masculine. It's the... It's the
warring?
The power in the war, in the violence that men and women and collectively then society just goes along with that. You know, even myself trying to overcome, you know, maybe workplace things. I've felt like I had to be powerful. And what that meant was not always being kind.
Right.
Yeah.
But
I have that issue when I go back and forth of, I'm going to just focus on myself. I'm going to do this for myself. And then I just kind of walk around like, don't mess with me. And then I'm like, wait a minute. I don't have to be so aggressive in my energy just to do things for myself. I can soften. I can find the middle. I can
puff my chest for a second and pull that power in and then breathe and move forward.
That reminds me of another quote from the Tao Te Ching, and it says, know the male energy, you know, that, but stick with the female energy. You know, just the fluid, the softer, the relaxed strength.
But there is the imbalance of that softness because men or women out of balance of the feminine can just get bowled over, bullied.
Well, yeah. Well, that's why it says know the male.
Oh, right. Be aware of your own
You
masculinity,
have
your
that,
own power.
Yeah, you have the ability.
Yeah.
And you will protect yourself and you will protect your family and whatever.
Right.
Okay.
You know, so you have that, but you don't want to stay in that mode all the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, but you have the ability to use it when you need to. That's the way I look at Tai Chi, sort of. You practice slow, fluid, beautiful, but actually it's a martial art.
Right. It's powerful.
And if you need to use it, and it can be like super explosive in application.
Yeah. Brene Brown talks about like power over versus power with. And I think about that a lot and try to just remember not to power over, even with my kids, you know, I mean, that's their good practice, right?
Yeah. Really good practice.
Try to overpower. And I find myself still doing it, of course, you know.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it is important.
Sure, when there's safety.
Yeah.
But usually it's about me. It's not about them.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. And we get stressed out and our kids are learning tools.
Yeah, they are. We learn so much about ourselves from that.
Yeah.
And
but I love the power with, and I think that is ultimately my goal. And I know I'm good at being assertive and doing and creating and persevering. I know all that, but to not be in power with is empty.
Yeah. Painful.
Yeah.
It's less effective.
And less effective.
If you're, you know, in this place of power along with your entire tribe, then you're really like in a place of like creating positive change.
Right.
You know, or profound change, I should say. Whatever that change is.
Right. Yeah. Not being attached to what that change even is, just not knowing and just being part of a tribe.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Honestly,
exciting.
I've been sitting with this for days now and just like, oh, I might get bored and that'll be okay.
Right. Because I get bored.
I haven't been bored in so long.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, well.
You can read. You know?
Or write.
Practice music.
Sing,
or
dance,
meditate more.
Meditate, yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of, you know, it's been fun to watch you, though, create all of this in the past year and work through all of the power and ego. And it's been really fun.
That's cool. Thank you. Yeah, it was fun. It was also very tiring and exhausting and a lot of doubt and pain and suffering.
So you're talking about
like creating the IMI and the platform and just other things, you know, that we've experienced this year with like the group and kind of having your voice, finding your voice and feeling like you need to be heard. I mean, our tribe talked about that a lot. Like, well, I need to be heard. I experienced that, you know, 6 months ago. I feel like I'm not being heard. I don't feel that way anymore or the need to be heard. You know,
I'm feeling similar. Just like, it's okay. And, you know, for those of you out there hearing us, it's just special that you're there and that you're sharing this space with us and to just let go of pushing this. You know, if you feel the desire, share with your friends. If you don't, it's no problem, you know? And just learning all of the sides of business and just being like, you know what? If I really believe that the future has nothing to do with the past, then I can't create business in the same way it's been done before.
Yeah, because it's a new time.
Right.
Yeah,
it's all about being in connection to that divine mother for me and being willing to sit until I'm spoken to.
Part of the mystery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't rush the river.
No, you can't rush the river. I can't command the Divine Mother to tell me what to do right now. I must know right now. And that's what 2020 was for me. It was like, I'm going to imagine that I know what you would say if you would tell me when I want you to. So I'm going to go that way. And maybe it was all for good, but I mean, I know it was all for good, but now I'm just willing to experience that floating sensation of like, I'm going to wait for the impulse to move and do. Until then, I'm going to be.
So,
and trust.
And trust.
What I'm hearing is, and correct me if I'm wrong, is just you're developing a more soulful perspective rather than the ego-driven kind of perspective. And,
yeah, I guess so.
For me, it feels like trust and trusting that you're always exactly where you're supposed to be. And there's no other place that you can possibly be in that moment. It just isn't, because that's where you are. And the first time I ever experienced that was Christopher had a relapse, and I remember he had talked to a sponsor, and he said, well, my sponsors, reminded me that I was right where I was supposed to be in that moment. And I was just mind blown. I'd never really imagined that. I've never heard that before at the time. Yeah. And I was like, how in the world could you be right where you're supposed to be? Yeah. And he was, you know, it's the lessons. Yeah. It's taking right where you are and learning the lessons and not judging them. Right. To being good or bad.
That's key, is not judging.
Well, and discerning where you're at, if you want to change it or not. You know, I mean, it's not just being passive.
And discerning.
You want to actively discern, if this moment is if you're on the path, essentially.
If the past is interwoven.
Like your ancient past?
Just your past patterns. Yeah. Are you really in the present, or is your past with you right now?
Right. Are you just perpetuating your past?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that's a discernment.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, what you're saying is using that metacognition tool and watching, observing your thoughts, observing your thought patterns, and noticing when like the old unproductive patterns start cropping up.
Yeah. Or if they're in charge at the moment.
Yeah. I mean, it's a question of freedom. Do I want to be free from my old patterns of thought, or do I want to be enslaved by them?
You just have, like you said, you have to be aware. What is that pattern creating for you?
Step one.
What are you manifesting?
Yeah.
Is it manifesting good or evil? And I know that's, putting judgment on it, but truly,
is it manifesting what you want or what you don't want?
Or is it
recognizing?
Yeah, is it creating positive change, or are you stuck?
Yeah.
I mean, and
stuck.
In tying back to what I was saying earlier about superficial joy or true joy, I think that manifesting in general in our culture has kind of gotten a bad rap because the most outspoken ones are saying, you have to only say what you want to happen, and if something from the past creeps up, ignore it. And there's this
bypassing.
Yeah. In my mind, I see it as a very purposeful steering, but is it possible to go deep in that way? I don't know. Supposedly it is, but in my experience, I did not see that
just
to
focus
work
on the positive and try to manifest just good.
Right.
The old things will creep up. I mean, the traumas will still come and hit you out of the blue, I think. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And you can ignore them forever, but I don't think you can really manifest
without those being
not
in the
soulful
picture.
things, right? I mean, maybe you can manifest.
Some people seem to be
something.
able to, but I know for me, it feels like it's in the way.
Well, I mean, when trauma bubbles up from the subconscious into the conscious mind, because that's the way it works. I mean, it's stored somewhere, and then it bubbles into the conscious mind. And when it bubbles into the conscious mind, the question is, how do we deal with it? I mean, to ignore it at that point, it's just like, then you're just like kind of trying to push it back into the subconscious. And that's
coming up.
Yeah. And then it'll just keep bubbling up. And then you get caught in this cycle of trauma bubbles up. Yep. You get triggered, right? And you push it back down. It bubbles up, you get triggered, push it back. And that can just continue on for your entire life, perhaps, unless you learn how to embrace the trauma. Almost it bubbles up, and you can
recognize it.
Well, recognize it and accept it for what it is, and attempt to discerningly, view it, be with it, and then attempt to let it go to the supraconscious. You see, so we want to clean it out of our subconscious. So therefore, when it actually bubbles into the conscious mind from the subconscious, that's a great opportunity to like meet it from a place of equanimity, of balance,
maybe even of love.
Of love, for sure.
Acceptance.
Forgiveness, all that wrapped into one. And then just like letting it go, releasing it. I'm going to release this to the universe, to the supraconscious. And so you're cleaning out the basement of your
That's really huge, though. And for most people, they need a support team, and that's why I was talking about the tribe. Like that's what we do. You need love. You need other human love that's healthy and wholesome and legit. I do want to say that I was having an image that came into my mind, and it's gross, right? But I got to share it because it's real. And if you've ever had some banana peels and an old sandwich and like an apple core in a plastic bag and you forget it in your car and it turns into sludge and it's really nasty and you open it up and you're like, ugh, and you close it.
Yeah.
So I was seeing that. And what went through my mind is there's inorganic composting and organic composting. And inorganic is when you have nasty stuff in a plastic bag and you throw it in the dumpster and it goes to the landfill and it turns into this really nasty toxic stuff mixed with everything else. That's the basement. And if you allow for organic composting, you turn it, you focus on it, you accept it for what it is, you mix it with some leaves, you expose it to the air. It turns into nutrients. So what was going in this little quick vision that went through my head when you were talking about that is like, what is going up to the superconscious is that which isn't needed in the compost, which if it's stuck in a plastic bag turns into sludge. But if it's properly done, it evaporates off and leaves you the nutrients that you need for the seed of the next thing. So
it's a great metaphor.
Yeah. And to share that.
Sense, yeah. Like we've got the sludge in ourselves that when it comes up, we could either close it back down and throw it away, or we could love it and nurture it and turn it and allow it. I think like maybe 10 years ago, I remember Tony kept talking to me about, you've got to love your demons. And I had no idea what he was talking about then. I was just like, I don't know how to do that. I don't know what you mean. And now, I mean, that's exactly what we're talking about, is just loving those parts of us that bubble up and that aren't our favorite parts, but still loving it all and healing it.
Yeah, and respecting it.
I do need to say to people listening, if you find yourself in this bubbling state and it's overwhelming, reach out to someone
for sure
that you trust. It is so key. So key. You do not have to do this alone. You are not alone in this. There are many, many, many of us who experience this bubbling, which is what we're talking about.
Perhaps all of us.
Yeah.
To some level.
I don't know if anyone doesn't. And if they don't, then they're probably repressing it.
Well, right. They're using substance. They're avoiding.
There's still no way to like completely avoid it though. We have our techniques. I can like watch movie after movie after movie, but then it's still going to bubble up.
Yeah, eventually. Unless you're full blown in addiction and
well,
I mean, even then maybe. I mean,
and we sleep and the mind works when we're sleeping.
Oh,
and
that's
true. There's really no escaping it. I mean, as far as trauma
you wake
goes,
up and you feel it and then
the nightmares.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you want to share that bit? I know this is a little off topic, but at the same, it's not. And the part that you learned in school about dreaming and like when the people are in the trauma, their dreams are fine and they dream of like.
Oh yeah. Well, I didn't, I just recently read about this.
Okay.
It was like a study on people who were in concentration camps in World War II. And while they were involved with the trauma, they were in the middle of it, they were locked up and being treated horribly. Their dreams were pretty good, were decent. You know, I think that's what helped get them through it. Years of this. But then afterwards, that's when the traumatic dreams really kicked into gear.
It's like processing.
Yeah. Well,
it's a reminder to work with it.
Well, it's it's the mind like surviving the situation too, and giving us an opportunity to
integrate,
work with it. Yeah, integrate it, let it go, whatever it takes. And I know it's like not easy, especially for people with huge amounts of trauma, like these concentration camp survivors. I mean, that talk about trauma. It's like, oh man, you know, but.
I mean, even less trauma can really lead to some serious nightmares.
Oh yeah.
And those nightmares are part of the healing journey. I guess that's what I wanted to say is that I know for me specifically, yes, in the midst of it, I dreamed of things that could be. I dreamed of a life that I'm living right now.
I mean, when you were, okay.
That's awesome.
Here I am like, oh my gosh, it came true. Those dreams came true. Yeah. But I had 3 years solid of nightmares where I was in intense, like every night being chased, every night terrible things in my dreams. And I realized, I think it was this summer when you told me about that, I was like, oh my gosh, that happened to me too. You know, it's like when you're in it, there's a survival. It's like your mind's like, it's going to be okay. Imagine what could be.
I wonder if it's a little bit of a dissociation also, or an out of body experience too, where you're kind of not fully present. Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
If I know some severe trauma, you know, they will have an out of body experience and watch it happen instead of be there present in the moment.
It's a coping mechanism.
It's a coping
for sure.
skill. So I wonder if that's part of the brain and the consciousness and the dreams to cope is to dream of something better.
Yeah, right.
I think so.
It's a little bit of a dissociation, which is powerful and good.
It's an example of how
gets me through.
It's an example of how the mind actually works on getting through things and healing. And so once we understand that, we can just start working with it more and more. And
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just a call out to people. You know, if you're having the nightmares, that's a good sign. Means you're out of it. And now you can work on integrating. And these words are actual like trauma recovery words. You have to process and integrate the situation that you had. So if you're having the nightmares, do some connecting with others, and I definitely suggest, so we'll just do our little mindful tip right now. And I'm going to pause it right there.
You don't have to worry about it. You're good.
I know.
You'll be good. You can have audio here. You can have audio here. We got 2 separate files, so you're not even, that thing won't even matter to us.
Okay. I'm trusting you.
Game on.
It's hard to trust, but I'll do it for this time.
You already have 10 minutes of that. So,
Yeah.
you gotta trust Jeremy too.
Yeah.
He's the guru.
All right.
Techie guru. Yeah.
So the mindful tip that I'd like to share with you today is, I call it the processing meditation. And it can be 3 minutes long, but I suggest 15 minutes. So you can set a timer on your phone. I suggest Insight Timer. That it's a free timer. It's an app that you download on your phone, and it's free. And you can set 5 minutes. You can pick a tone that isn't alarming. That's the key, is not to get alarmed by your alarm. And so you set it for 5 minutes and you make it so it's repeatable. So all you have to do is touch a button when that 5 minutes is over to reset it for 5 minutes. So the first 5 minutes, you allow yourself to process whatever your mind needs to go through. You sit with it. You breathe. You just let your mind do what it needs to do. I like to do this before bed. That's what I suggest. And so you're sitting there, your day is going through your head, everything that you've done that you need to think about for a moment. And you let this go on for 5 minutes. And then at the 5 minute mark, reset your alarm. And now you go into a focus word. And a very simple, powerful focus word, especially for nighttime, is so hum. So you're inhaling, in your mind say so, exhale, in your mind say hum, and you just keep that going. It's a mental focus, and you try to make the so and the hum as loud as possible to drown out those thoughts, because you want to be in control of your mind in this 5 minutes. So you continue, inhale so, exhale hum for the whole 5 minutes. Try to deepen your breath, slow it down. Timer goes off, reset. Now try to just be for 5 minutes. As soon as a thought pops in your head, take one breath, so hum. Try to be quiet again as long as possible. As soon as that thought pops up in your head again, so hum. And you keep doing that for 5 minutes. And you just want to be able to assess. You want to look at it like a detective. You don't want to be like, oh my gosh, I had to stop 10 times in that 5 minutes. I can't believe it. So you don't want to do that. Mm-hmm. You want to just be with it. Literally, be still as much as you possibly can and use the tools when you need them. Mm-hmm. And you keep going with that until the 5 minutes is up. And I like to suggest that at the end of the 15 minutes, you honor yourself for taking that time, because that's a big part of it. Mm-hmm. We need to honor ourselves for the time that we put into self-care. Mm-hmm. And we also need to acknowledge how we feel, because it's easy to forget when we feel good. So take your moment to honor yourself. And I literally just put my hands in prayer. And what I think is so interesting about this is there's actually a physical, I don't know, I'm losing my words there for a minute. But when you bring the right to the left into the center, it's like you're drawing yourself into the center. And then you put your thumbs on your breastbone, and that's just like a very calming thing. And it's used in so many traditions. And you just bring your hands together and you bring them to your heart and take a breath and honor yourself, honor your heart, honor your mind, honor your process, and then go to bed.
All right.
So that's my mindful tip for this week.
You know, what I would suggest too is as you're, the first 5 minutes when you're watching your thoughts, if you notice that your thoughts are based on the media, for example, If you notice you're ruminating about different things on the news, and that's a sign that perhaps you need to back off a little bit on your media consumption, or even perhaps take a media fast. Shout out to Kyle, our buddy, who's all
and
just
Corey.
Is she off the media too?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So they probably won't hear this.
Yeah, they probably won't hear it. Well, but a shout out to those guys because that's not easy. But it's super important. And what Kyle was saying last night is, since he's off the media, he's just way more peaceful, way more heart-centered. Yeah. It's like, yes.
Yeah.
So if you spend a lot of time ruminating about the media, you might want to try that. There's actually support groups out there now where the goal is to vastly reduce your media consumption. So that would be my little tip on top of that too.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. My little tip, I'd go back to Tara Brach and her RAIN acronym again for like the trauma processing. And it's the recognize, allow, investigate, and nurture. And you can look for her, Google her, Tara Brach, RAIN, and she's tons of free online meditations. Get her books. It's a great way to process and make sure you're safe when you're processing. Make sure that if it becomes too much, you stop and you get help. But if you can do it, it's very powerful.
I think the nurturing piece is
that's the love your demons piece that Tony talked about years ago.
And also reaching out to those that you trust to help you through and have that nurturing that you need.
Kind of comes back to having that tribe again. And one component of our tribe is that I just feel this immense, we immensely respect each other and we immensely see the good in each other and see we're all different with what we're good at.
Which is important.
But if you get a bunch of people good in a bunch of different things, bam, then you really have it going. And I think just finding that, being in that place of respect and collaboration. We come together, we collaborate, and it's really a wonderful thing.
Yeah,
I feel so grateful.
Me too. I don't go through anything alone. Like if I'm suffering, I pull someone in, and I never feel guilty about it. And I know that I want people to call on me when they need help, and I'm going to call on others when I need help, and I even kind of know who. It used to be I'd just reach out to somebody who told me what I want to hear, but now I kind of have a big enough circle that I know who can help best with what different problem I may be having.
That's cool. Yeah. Got your catalog out.
Get out my address book.
That's awesome.
Fun.
All right. Well, thank you all. And we want to thank our local community here at WDRT for
Thank you, James Halberg.
Mindflow Radio show, and much love to the Driftless community. And
to all humanity.
Yeah, all humanity and all those that have been going through serious isolation and getting stronger. Like, wow, more power to you. I'm impressed. I'm impressed.
Yeah, and just know that we're all of us. We're all wildly powerful manifestors.
I wonder,
let's get in touch with
made
that.
Me think. I wonder if in my next life's pandemic, if I'll be more able to have isolation. Not this one. I'm just not. No. I'm not quite that strong. But
I think a lot of people who are in the isolation don't realize how strong they are. Like how much of a feat
strong
it is,
and to maintain still joy.
Yeah, I don't know if that's happening so much.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is why I'm suggesting that you not stay in isolation anymore. But, if you've been in isolation for the last 8 months, kudos. I'm really proud of you. And I hope that you find your peeps and can start processing. All right. Yay. Much love. Be well, y'all.
Thanks, everybody.
Namah Shivaya.
you love.